The envelope arrived at midnight. I stared at it lying on my apartment doorstep, thick and cream-colored, my name written in elegant script that made my skin crawl. No postage. Hand-delivered. At midnight. Julia Hartwell, it read. Personal and confidential. My hand trembled as I picked it up. 3 years as a prosecutor had taught me that nothing good ever arrived this way. Inside were photographs. My brother Marcus, entering an abandoned warehouse on the docks. Marcus, shaking hands with known criminals. Marcus, accepting a duffel bag that could only contain one thing. The note was brief. Tomorrow, midnight, Pier 47. Come alone, or these go public. V.K. Victor Kozlov. The man I'd spent 18 months building a case against, the ghost of New York's underworld, and apparently the man who now owned my brother's life. I didn't sleep that night. Pier 47 was abandoned, the kind of place where bodies washed up and witnesses developed sudden amnesia. The fog rolled in thick from the harbor, and every shadow felt like a threat. I shouldn't have come alone. I should have called my partner, the FBI, someone. But Marcus was all I had left. Our parents died when I was 19, leaving me to raise a rebellious 15-year-old who resented every rule, every boundary. Now he was 23, and apparently making deals with the devil. Prosecutor Hartwell. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Then he stepped from the shadows, and I forgot how to breathe. Victor Kozlov was nothing like his file photos suggested. Those showed a cold-eyed criminal in court appearances. The man before me was devastatingly handsome, tall and broad-shouldered in a perfectly tailored black suit. Dark hair, sharp jawline, and eyes like polished steel that seemed to see straight through me. "You came," he said. His accent barely noticeable, cultured rather than street. "Smart woman. What do you want?" My voice was steadier than my hands. He smiled, and it was the most dangerous thing I'd ever seen. Direct, I like that. He pulled out a tablet, swiping through more images. Marcus with known drug dealers, Marcus counting money, Marcus loading crates onto a truck. "Your brother has been working for the Petrov family for 6 months. Trafficking, money laundering, extortion. He's in deep, prosecutor. 20 years minimum if these reach the right people." "What do you want?" I repeated, my heart hammering. "You have something I need." He stepped closer, and I caught the scent of expensive cologne and something darker, more primal. "You're about to file charges against me. Evidence seized from that warehouse raid last month. I want you to make it disappear." "That's impossible. There are chain of custody records, other prosecutors." "You'll find a way." His eyes locked onto mine. "Or your brother goes to prison. And in prison, with his connections to Petrov." He left the threat hanging. The Petrov family. Victor's rivals. If they knew Marcus had been working for them, if he went to prison where Petrov's people could reach him. "You're asking me to destroy my career, my integrity, everything I've worked for." "I'm asking you to save your brother's life." Victor's expression didn't change. "You have 48 hours to decide. After that, these photos go to the police, the press, and certain interested parties in Brooklyn." He turned to leave, and something snapped inside me. Years of playing by the rules, of watching criminals walk free on technicalities while good people suffered. Maybe it was time to play a different game. "Wait." The word left my mouth before I could stop it. "I have a counter-offer." Victor turned slowly, one eyebrow raised. "You're not really in a position to negotiate, prosecutor." "Aren't I?" I forced steel into my voice. "You need me because I have access, credibility, insider knowledge. Kill the case against you, and you get one problem solved. But I can offer you something much more valuable. Interest flickered in those steel eyes. "I'm listening." "The Petrov family is moving against you. I've seen the intelligence reports, the intercepted communications. They're planning something big." I was improvising now, dancing on the edge of a cliff. "You need someone on the inside, someone who can access police files, prosecutor offices, FBI databases, someone no one would ever suspect." "You're proposing to work for me?" It wasn't a question. "I'm proposing a partnership. I feed you information on Petrov, help you stay ahead of law enforcement, and in return, my brother's slate gets wiped clean. All evidence against him disappears, and he gets out of this life completely." He studied me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then that dangerous smile returned. "You'd betray everything you stand for to save your brother. How touching. I'd do anything for family." And I meant it. Can you say the same? Something shifted in his expression, gone too quickly to identify. "This partnership you propose, what's to stop you from gathering evidence against me while pretending to help? What's to stop you from killing my brother the moment I'm no longer useful? We both take a risk. That's what makes it fair." He laughed, a sound like dark silk. "Fair. I haven't heard that word in a very long time." He stepped closer again, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. "Very well, Prosecutor Hartwell. You have yourself a deal. But understand this. If you betray me, your brother won't be the only one who suffers. I'll destroy everything and everyone you've ever cared about." "Understood." My voice didn't waver, even as fear coiled in my stomach. "Good." He pulled out a phone, typed something, and showed me the screen. "Tomorrow, midnight. This address. Come alone, and come prepared to prove your usefulness." As he disappeared into the fog, I realized what I'd just done. I'd made a deal with the devil himself, and the worst part? A dark, reckless part of me was eager to see where it would lead. The address led to a penthouse in Tribeca, the kind of place that cost more than I'd earn in a lifetime. The doorman nodded, as if expecting me, and the private elevator required a key card Victor had left at the desk. The doors opened directly into the penthouse, and I stepped into a world of dark luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, leather furniture, abstract art that was probably worth millions. And Victor, standing by the windows in dark slacks and a white shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal surprisingly muscular forearms. "Wine?" he offered, as if this were a social call. "Information," I countered. "What exactly do you need from me?" That almost smile again. Business before pleasure. I like that. He gestured to a laptop on the glass table. "The Petrov family is planning to hit one of my shipments next week. I need to know when and where." I sat down, accessing the police database with my credentials. It felt wrong, every keystroke a betrayal of everything I'd sworn to uphold. But when I thought of Marcus, of those photos, my fingers kept moving. "There's a task force meeting scheduled for Thursday," I said, scrolling through encrypted files. "They're coordinating with the DEA on something big in Red Hook." Victor moved behind me, close enough that I could feel his presence like a physical force. He leaned over my shoulder, and my breath caught. "Can you access the meeting minutes?" "Not until after the meeting, but—" I hesitated, crossing another line. "I could attend, take notes, report back." "Now you're thinking like a criminal prosecutor." His voice was low, intimate, far too close to my ear. "It suits you." I turned to look at him and found his face inches from mine. Those steel eyes held something I couldn't identify. Approval, attraction, danger? "Don't mistake necessity for enthusiasm," I said, trying to ignore my racing heart. "I'm doing this for Marcus, nothing more." "Of course," but he didn't move away. "Tell me, Julia, may I call you Julia? When did your brother get involved with Petrov?"
The use of my first name felt too intimate, too personal. 6 months ago, he lost his job, got behind on rent, someone offered easy money, and I stopped, hating the weakness in my voice. Made a choice. Victor finally stepped back. We all make choices. Some lead to penthouses, others to prison. The difference is knowing which game you're playing. And what game are we playing? I asked. A dangerous one. He poured 2 glasses of wine, offering me one. But then you knew that when you proposed this arrangement. Which makes me wonder, what are you really after, prosecutor? I took the wine, buying time. The truth was complicated. Yes, I wanted to save Marcus, but I also saw an opportunity. If I played this right, gathered enough evidence while pretending to help Victor, I could bring down not just him, but the entire Kozlov organization. The case of my career. I want my brother safe and out of this life. Technically true, if incomplete. Victor's eyes narrowed slightly, as if he sensed the omission. Then we want the same thing. Your brother out, my enemies neutralized. A perfect partnership. He raised his glass, and after a moment of hesitation, I clinked mine against it. The wine was expensive, smooth, and tasted like temptation.
The next 2 weeks were a blur of double lives and dangerous games. By day, I was Julia Hartwell, respected prosecutor, attending meetings and building cases. By night, I slipped into Victor's world, feeding him information, learning the rhythms of his empire. The task force meeting revealed that the DEA was planning a massive raid on Petrov's operations in Red Hook. I passed the information to Victor, hating myself with every word. 3 days later, the raid found empty warehouses and burned files. Petrov lost millions, and 2 of his top lieutenants were arrested, on charges I quietly helped build. Victor was impressed. "You're more valuable than I anticipated," he said one night in the penthouse. We'd fallen into a routine. I'd deliver information, he'd pour wine, and we'd dance around the attraction that crackled between us like live wire. "I keep my promises," I replied, nursing my wine. "Speaking of which, my brother, when does he get out?" "Soon." Victor moved to the window, his profile sharp against the city lights. "I'm arranging something legitimate for him. A job with one of my legal enterprises. Enough to keep him comfortable and far from this world." "Your legal enterprises?" I couldn't keep the skepticism from my voice. He turned, and there was something almost vulnerable in his expression. "You think I'm only the monster the prosecutors paint me as. But I built an empire from nothing, Julia. Yes, some of it lives in shadows, but much of it doesn't. Real estate, tech investments, import-export businesses that actually import and export legal goods. And the illegal parts, the drugs, the violence, the lives you've destroyed. Survival." His jaw tightened. "You grow up in the Bratva. You learn that morality is a luxury for those who can afford it. I couldn't. So I became what I needed to be to survive, then to thrive." It was the most personal thing he'd shared, and it disarmed me. The Bratva? Russian organized crime. My father was a mid-level enforcer who drank himself to death when I was 12. My mother died of an overdose when I was 15. I had 2 choices, join or die. He looked at me, and for a moment the ruthless crime lord fell away, revealing something raw underneath. "So tell me, prosecutor, if you were 15 and alone and starving, what would you have done?" I had no answer, because in his position, with his choices, I might have done the same thing. The silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken understanding. Then Victor's phone buzzed, shattering the moment. His expression darkened as he read the message. "We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "Petrov knows someone is feeding me information.
He's tightening security, moving operations, and he's looking for the leak. His eyes met mine. If he finds out about you, I won't. Julia. He crossed to me in 3 long strides, his hands gripping my shoulders. The touch sent electricity through me. You don't understand what these men are capable of. Petrov doesn't just kill traitors, he makes examples of them. If he even suspects you, then I'll be more careful. I stepped back, needing distance from his touch, from the concern in his eyes that felt too real. I'm not some helpless civilian, Victor. I knew the risks when I made this deal. Did you? His voice dropped lower, more intense. Did you know you'd be lying to your colleagues every day, watching raids fail because of your information, becoming exactly what you spent years prosecuting? The words hit like physical blows, because they were true. Every day I looked at myself in the mirror and saw a stranger, someone who betrayed her oath, her integrity, everything she believed in. I did it for Marcus, I said, but the words sounded hollow even to me. Did you? Victor moved closer again, and this time I didn't back away. Or did you do it because some part of you was tired of being the good girl, tired of following rules while men like me broke them and prospered? His hand came up to cut my cheek, and I should have pulled away, should have reminded him this was business, nothing more. But I didn't. I stood frozen as his thumb traced my lower lip. I think you like this, Julia. The danger, the deception, the double life. I think you like being in my world, even as you pretend to hate it. You're wrong, I whispered, but my body betrayed me, leaning into his touch. Am I? His other hand slid to my waist, pulling me closer. Why is your heart racing? Why do your pupils dilate every time I come near? Why do you wear that perfume I mentioned I liked? I had no answer, because he was right. Somewhere between the lies and the late-night meetings and the dangerous games, something had shifted. I'd started to see him not as the monster from my case files, but as a man, complicated, damaged, but with a code of honor that existed outside the law. And God help me, I was attracted to him in ways I'd never been to any man before. This is a mistake, I said, even as my hands came up to rest on his chest. Probably, but we've both made so many already. What's one more? When his lips met mine, the world caught fire. The kiss was fierce, hungry, months of tension exploding into desperate need. His hands tangled in my hair, mine clawed at his shirt, and we stumbled backward until my back hit the window. 60 stories below, the city lights blurred into a kaleidoscope. Up here, there was only Victor and this impossible, dangerous moment of surrender. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, reality came crashing back. I should go, I said, my voice shaky. Yes, but we both didn't move. Victor, I know. His forehead rested against mine. This complicates everything. It can't happen again. No. But we both knew it would. We both knew we'd crossed a line there was no coming back from. My phone buzzed, shattering the moment. A text from my partner. Emergency meeting, 7 a.m., major break in the Kozlov case. My blood ran cold. I have to go. Victor released me immediately, his expression shifting back to unreadable. The case against me? I don't know, but I'll find out. I gathered my things, my hands still trembling. I'll call you. As I rode the elevator down, I caught my reflection in the mirrored walls. Flushed cheeks, swollen lips, eyes too bright. I looked exactly like what I was, a woman falling for the enemy. And the worst part? I wasn't sure I wanted to stop.
The meeting the next morning was worse than I'd feared. "We have a witness," my partner Greg announced, barely containing his excitement. "One of Kozlov's former associates willing to testify. He's in protective custody, but he's giving us everything. Kozlov's organization, his methods, his connections. This is it, Julia. We can finally take him down." My heart hammered against my ribs. "Who's the witness?" "Anton Volkov, Kozlov's former head of security." I knew that name. Victor had mentioned him once, his expression hardening. A betrayal, a falling out. And now Volkov was going to destroy everything. "When does he testify?" I managed to ask. "Grand jury convenes in 3 days. We'll have indictments within a week." Greg grinned. "You did it, Julia. Your case, your strategy. This is going to make your career." It should have been the best news of my life. Instead, all I could think about was Victor's face when he learned about the betrayal, about what would happen to Marcus if Victor thought I'd set this up. I excused myself and locked myself in a bathroom stall, trying to breathe. I had to warn Victor, but if I did, I'd be crossing yet another line, obstructing justice in the most direct way possible. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "I know what you are. Meet me at the usual place. 1 hour. VK." My blood turned to ice. He knew. Somehow he knew. Victor was waiting at Pier 47, the same place where this nightmare began. But this time, there were no shadows to hide in, no fog to soften the harsh reality of what I'd done. "You've been playing me from the start," he said without preamble. His voice was flat, emotionless, which was somehow more terrifying than anger. "Gathering evidence, building your case, while pretending to help me." "Victor, don't." He held up a hand. "I had my people look into your brother. Do you know what they found?" I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. "Your brother isn't working for Petrov. He never was. Those photographs were staged, the evidence fabricated. I created the perfect leverage to recruit you, a dirty prosecutor with access to everything I needed." The world tilted sideways. "What?" "Your brother is exactly what he appears to be, a struggling graduate student with student loans and a minimum wage job. No criminal connections whatsoever." Victor's eyes were ice. "I researched you, Julia. Found your weakness, exploited it perfectly. You made it easy, really. So desperate to save your baby brother that you never questioned whether he needed saving." I staggered back, my mind refusing to process what he was saying. But the photos, the evidence. Hollywood makeup artists and professional actors can work wonders. The warehouse, the criminals Marcus was supposedly meeting with, all mine, all staged. He stepped closer, and I saw something beneath the cold fury. Pain. I needed a prosecutor on my side, and I got one. What I didn't anticipate was that she'd be playing me just as expertly. I wasn't, but the lie died on my lips. Because I had been. From the moment I'd proposed the partnership, I'd been planning to bring him down. "Volkov's testimony. I assume you knew about it. I found out this morning. And were you going to warn me, or just let me walk into the trap?" When I didn't answer, he laughed bitterly. "I thought so." "Tell me, Julia, when we kissed last night, was that part of your strategy? Keep me distracted while the walls closed in?" "No." The word burst from me, raw and desperate. "That was real, Victor. Whatever else I've lied about, that was real." "Was it? Or are you just a better actress than I gave you credit for?" Tears burned my eyes. "I don't know anymore. I don't know what's real and what's the game. I don't know if I'm the hero or the villain. All I know is that I'm tired of lying, tired of playing both sides, tired of betraying everyone, including myself." "Then tell me the truth." His thumb traced my cheekbone, catching a tear. "Right now, in this moment,
What do you want? The question hung between us, heavy with implications. The truthful answer terrified me, because what I wanted was impossible. I wanted to save my career and save Victor, to be the righteous prosecutor and the criminal's lover, to live in two worlds that could never coexist. I want to stop Volkov's testimony, and I hate myself for wanting it. Something shifted in Victor's expression. Why? Because you're a criminal. You've broken laws, hurt people, built an empire on suffering. By every metric I've ever used to judge the world, you're exactly who I should be putting behind bars. But you're also the man who's shown me more honesty about who he is than anyone in my so-called legitimate world. You're the man who makes me feel alive in ways I never have before. And I think, God help me, I'm falling in love with you. The confession hung in the air between us, too raw and real to take back. Victor was silent for a long moment. Then, Volkov testifies in 3 days. You could make the case fall apart. Evidence tampering, witnessed credibility issues, procedural violations. You have the access and the knowledge. You're asking me to destroy everything I've worked for. I'm asking you to choose your career or me, the law or love. You can't have both, Julia. You've been trying to play both sides, but that game is over. So choose. The ultimatum was clear. In 3 days, one of us would be destroyed. Either I'd obstruct justice and sacrifice my integrity, or I'd send the man I loved to prison. I need time, I said, my voice breaking. You have 72 hours. After that, we'll both have to live with the consequences of your choice. He walked away, and I stood alone on the pier where this had all begun, wondering how I'd become the very thing I'd always despised, a corrupt prosecutor, a criminal's accomplice, a woman so twisted by lies that she couldn't find the truth anymore.
I didn't sleep for 3 days. The grand jury convened at 9 a.m. on Thursday. Volkov would testify at 10. I had until then to make my choice. At 9:45, I stood outside the courthouse, phone in hand, Victor's number on the screen. One call, and I could tell him to run. One well-placed piece of evidence tampering, and Volkov's testimony would crumble. One choice, and I'd cross a line I could never come back from. My finger hovered over the call button. Julia, Greg appeared at my elbow. You coming? You've worked too hard on this case to miss the victory. Victory. The word tasted like ashes in my mouth. I looked at Greg, honest, dedicated Greg, who'd never questioned his moral compass because it pointed true north. Then I thought of Victor, the man who'd grown up with no compass at all and had to forge his own sense of honor from the ruins of his childhood. Who was I to judge which path was right? Actually, I heard myself say, there's something you need to know about Volkov's testimony. Greg's expression shifted from confusion to horror as I told him everything. How Victor had blackmailed me, how I'd been feeding him information, how I'd been planning to sabotage the case. I left out my feelings for Victor, but everything else poured out like poison from a wound. When he finished, Greg was staring at me as if I were a stranger. You're confessing to obstruction of justice, conspiracy, abuse of office? I know. My voice was surprisingly calm. I am turning myself in, voluntarily, before Volkov testifies, before I can do any more damage. Julia, do you understand what this means? Your career is over. You'll be disbarred, possibly prosecuted. You could go to prison. I know. And strangely, there was peace in the certainty. But at least I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror again. As security led me away to give my statement, I caught a glimpse of the news on a lobby television. Breaking news. Witness in major organized crime case killed in apparent suicide in protective custody. Volkov. Dead before he could testify. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that Victor had made his own choice.
He'd eliminated the threat rather than ask me to betray everything I was. In his own twisted way, he'd set me free. 6 months later, I sat in a coffee shop in Seattle, watching rain streak down the windows. The plea deal had been generous. My cooperation in exposing corruption in the prosecutor's office earned me probation instead of prison, though my law license was gone forever. Marcus, when I'd finally told him everything, had been appropriately horrified and supportive. He'd helped me move across the country, start over in a city where no one knew my name or my shame. I was a barista now. It was honest work, and there was something cleansing about the simplicity of it. No moral quandaries, no impossible choices, just coffee and small talk and blessed anonymity. The bell above the door chimed, and I looked up automatically. Victor stood in the doorway, rain dripping from his coat, his steel eyes finding mine across the crowded shop. My heart stopped. He crossed to the counter, and up close, I could see the changes in him. New lines around his eyes, a weariness that hadn't been there before, but also something else, something softer. "Julia," he said, my name rough on his tongue. "What are you doing here?" I whispered. "I disbanded the organization." The words were simple, matter-of-fact, but earth-shattering. Sold the legitimate businesses, shut down the illegal operations, paid settlements to people I'd harmed. It's been 6 months of unraveling everything I built. His eyes held mine. "Because you were right. I was tired of being the monster, tired of the lies and the blood and the impossibility of ever being anything more." I couldn't breathe. "Why?" "Because you chose the truth over me, even though it cost you everything. And that kind of integrity," his voice broke slightly, "that's worth burning down an empire for." "Victor." He reached across the counter, his hand open on the scarred wood between us. "I know I have no right to ask for anything from you. I destroyed your career, your reputation. I manipulated you, lied to you, put you in an impossible position. But I'm here anyway, asking if, maybe, someday, you might forgive me. And if you do, if you can, I'll spend the rest of my life proving I can be the man you made me want to be." I looked at his hand, at the offering implicit in the gesture. A chance to start over. Both of us stripped down to nothing but the truth. No games, no lies, no impossible choices. Just two broken people trying to build something real from the ruins. Slowly, I placed my hand in his. "I'll need a dishwasher. The pay is terrible and the hours are long." Victor's smile was like the sun breaking through clouds. "When do I start?" Outside, the rain continued to fall, washing away the past, and inside, two former enemies began the long, difficult work of becoming something neither of us had ever expected: partners in truth, not deception. The blackmail that had brought us together had burned away everything false, leaving only this: two people who'd been willing to sacrifice everything for what they believed in. And now, finally, they were free to choose each other. Not because they had to, but because they wanted to.